Okay, here's the issue I was having today. Garage door opener still works fine, remote still works fine, but my button on my wall wasn't working fine. This thing, you had been able to press on this and you had to press harder and harder and harder, and then finally it just stopped working altogether. And I'm an electrician, so I was like, yeah, I can probably fix it. I took it off. Yeah, there ain't no fixing that. So, since I am an electrician, I ain't going to spend money on a stupid new thing. And in case y'all don't know how this works, basically, these are the only two wires you have. And they're low voltage. You can touch them all day long. They ain't going to do nothing to you. There's like 10 volts. It'd be like touching the end of a 9-volt battery. Maybe if you lick it, you might get something. But all you got to do is touch these two together. Kind of hard to do one-handed, but... That wire kind of broke on me when I was taking it out. But if I could just get these two wires to touch. Come on. There's the garage door. Touch them again, stops it. Touch them again, it closes. So instead of going find a new $15 one of these, I'll show you what I'm going to do instead. I'll be back. Part 2. Alright, got the wires all separated, got a little piece cut back, or got some drywall cut back. Well, instead of buying a new one of these for like $15, I'm an electrical company. I'm just going to use one of these leftover, not used, regular receptacle. Single pole on-off switch. And I'm going to hook that up. The only wires on here that are actually working. This is just basically data wire, or control wires. You're just going to connect. Since all this switch does is just open and close, I'm just going to put one of the red on one screw, or one of the black on one screw, which doesn't matter, and red on the other screw. Like I said, doesn't matter. Just open and closing. When it's in the up function, it's going to operate the garage door. So you just click it and that'll contact it. Click it again, it'll contact it again. Alright, let's see if my little electrician I turn it, even though I didn't have to turn it off. I didn't want the door going up and down when I was doing this. So it was as you can see, electrical supplies, small electrical company. I was pretty much out of my garage. Alright, I'll turn the breaker back off. I'm back on. Alright, so now this is live. This should work just like my old $20 or $30 garage door. I'm using a $1 standard switch. Oh look, it works. And to go back up, you just have to sit in the off function, go back in the on function, that stops it. Off function, back on. Going back up. Now, obviously you got a ground screw on the switch. They ain't got to worry about that. This is low voltage, 10 volt, ground's not required. So I'm just going to get it all put back in there. Get a cover plate put back on it. Probably wrap these in electrical tape, even though it's not necessary. You know, I always like to, I'm one of those type of people. It takes an extra couple of seconds. Doesn't hurt. Especially when you're in an outside wet environment like this. You know, even though it's a damp location, it's not considered a wet location, but still, it doesn't hurt. It takes literally seconds and a couple pennies of electrical tape. Alright, all done. Alright, now I'll put a extension ring on there, because there's a little piece of plywood back there, so that without cutting out that plywood, I didn't feel like doing all that, so I had an extra extension ring sitting around, so I just threw that on there to get it off the wall just a little bit, so I wouldn't have to cut into plywood and all that. Then I just got to put the cover on. But so let's see, the extension ring. Well, for me it was free. Everything was free because, like I said, I own a small electrical company. But for you consumers, you would have to pay about $1 for the switch, about 50 cents probably for the extension ring if you had to, and then maybe 5 cents worth of electrical tape. See how I taped up those screws? But look how nice this works. And that is much better than using the piece of $30 crap that came with it. Ended up breaking. That's how hard I was having to press that button to get it to operate my stinking garage door. So, just a quick suggestion. Whenever you're putting on these types of things, like this extension ring, it's meant to mount on a 4-square box, which only has 2 screws, so 2 screws is fine. But what I was talking about is, see, like whenever you mount these things, make sure gravity's working on your side. See how that, if this screw was to come a little bit loose, you ain't gotta worry about it falling off. But if you had this extension ring upside down, where that slot was on the top, and let's say that screw got a little bit loose or whatnot, nothing would keep this from falling down. Same thing down here. Always remember, gravity, people. Alright, finished product. The cover plate on, it's got a little bit of gap, but I ain't gonna worry about that. It cost me nothing, but for you it costs like $1.50 maybe. Alright, and like I said, dealing with these stupid, this $30 overrated piece of junk that I about had to break my finger pressing it so hard to get it to work. Pain. Oh, and another quick tip for all you weekend warriors. Whenever put it on your cover plates, remember to, if you want it to look professional, whenever you're doing your finishing screws, always make sure they end up vertical on these flat heads. That lets the person who comes afterwards, and I over tighten the top just a hair. It stressed it out just a bit. So I'm gonna loosen that up just a hair, but I'm gonna make sure I leave it back at the vertical position. Whenever an electrician or a good person comes in and he sees that those screws, their finishing screws aren't in a vertical position, he knows somebody's worked on it that don't know what they're doing. Because all good electricians will leave them in that vertical position. Just a little FYI. But it looks good. I ain't got to sit there and mash and mash and mash until it finally gets contact. $1.50 versus their $30 piece of junk. Oh well, I know money's tight, so just a little helpful FYI for people that aren't electricians. It's real easy. You don't even have to turn it off. Like I said, the only reason I turned it off really was to so it wouldn't keep on going up and down on me whenever I was hooking it up. Alright, it's low voltage. Like I said, unless you lick both or stick both the wires to your tongue, you ain't gonna feel nothing. Well, I take that back for legal purposes. If you got a pacemaker or something, don't do it. If you're susceptible to low energy shocks, like really low, like I said, about 10 volts probably. All right, well there's your helpful tip of the day. $1.50 versus 30. Piece of junk. I don't see how they can feel good at night selling this for $30 when I can just use that for $1.50. Oh well, helpful tip.